is critically important. Now, many of you, of course, have seen me take celebrities to task when it comes to this. 4 years ago, I blasted Lupe Fiasco when he was talking about why he wasn't going to vote. And here's my piece. The point for me is this here. If you don't want to support a candidate, fine. Write somebody in. But when you have millions of followers and you're telling them, hey, don't vote, that to me is absolutely nonsense. And so Nick Cannon has made some comments where he says that it's too much pageantry in presidential races. That's one of the reasons why he's not going to be voting. He's focused on local elections. But the reality is this here. Local elections do matter. Local elections are important, and we emphasize them on this show. But we must remind you, a president also impacts local elections. Who do you think appoints the U.S. attorney? President? Who investigates corruption in cities? U.S. attorney? Who is leading the investigation in Baton Rouge and the shooting death of Alton Sterling? A U.S. attorney? Who do you think impacts when it comes to education? Money from the Department of Education? Who appoints the secretary? President? Who impacts all the decisions when it comes to DOJ coming in, investigating police departments? Department of Justice? Who appoints the Attorney General? The President? So we have to somehow stop this whole nonsense that the president is not in an important position.
Hey, what's going on, people? Knowledge here. I was checking out News One today, and Roland Martin was basically calling out certain celebrities like Nick Cannon and Lupe Fiasco for, I guess, using their influence to quote unquote stray people away from voting. And we all know, or you should know, what Bow Wow ignorant ass said a couple of days ago about him not being black and him not having any references or relatability to black American struggle. That was just some self-hatred shit. But when it comes to Lupe and Nick Cannon, I felt like the things that Roland Martin was saying, he was contradicting himself, because first of all, Lupe Fiasco and Nick Cannon, the statements that they made, they basically were expressing their opinion. They didn't come out and say, oh, well, I'm not voting, so you shouldn't vote. They came out like a lot of us do on social media, and we talk about our political views, or, how we plan to affect the political structure in this next election. We've all done it. Those of us who pay attention to politics and have been concerned about the conditions that black Americans are in at this point in time. We've all done it. So these guys are not coming out and saying, oh, well, I'm not voting, so you shouldn't vote. They're just basically, expressing their, opinion about how they feel about certain things. And, he kind of got on them for the simple fact of them using their influence to quote-unquote stray people away from voting. But isn't that what you do? It's really no difference. He's getting mad at the fact that Nick Cannon, or Lupe Fiasco might express their opinion, and someone of their fans might say, you know what? Lupe has a point. Maybe we shouldn't vote, or we should vote strategically. Nick Cannon, he has a point. Maybe I shouldn't go out and vote. It's no different from when Roland Martin gets on television every day and, expresses his political views or talks over people like he does quite often to a lot of his guests on his show to get people to sway towards his way of thinking about politics. It's no different, but because someone decides to think a little bit different than him or says, you know what, I'm not going to vote for a candidate this election, he gets mad about that. So, I felt that to be a little bit hypocritical on his part and a big contradiction. But, I've always been somebody who advocated for us to use our vote, but not just to go out and vote, but strategically vote. And to be honest with you, I'm more or less feeling the way Nick Cannon is feeling right now. I do think we need to focus on our local elections. Yes, the president of the United States does affect certain local elections and certain, intricate details as far as who gets elected. But at the same time, those local elections, that's what affects your backyard. Since the beginning of time, black folks have been getting fucked in the ass in this country. We go out, we stand in line, we vote, we listen to all these, hopes and promises of what each candidate is going to do for our people, and nothing happens. And the reason why I say our people is because, we get kicked in the ass a lot. People use us to push their agenda. People use us to get that vote. But when they get into office, a lot of times nothing particularly is done for black Americans. I don't mean minorities. I'm talking about black Americans. And we came out and voted 97% for President Barack Obama, and nothing was done for us. And we understand, I don't want to hear nobody saying, oh, well, he's not the black president and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, we saw different things that he did for, the gay community. He did for, immigrants, Hispanic community. We can't name one thing that he did specifically for black Americans. Not one thing. But he uses for that vote. So I think it's time that we start waking up and we start voting strategically. And to be honest with you, this election, I'm not going out and voting for a candidate until I hear specifically in the plan of what they plan to do for black Americans. I don't want to hear about minorities or how, we're in unity and we're all together, because realistically that's bullshit. Because when our people get gunned down, it's a whole different mindset, a whole different reaction to that. So until I hear what these candidates are going to do specifically for black Americans, and a realistic plan of how they're going to go about changing that or getting that situation revolved, I'm not voting for nobody. They're not getting my vote. Now, I will vote for public policy. I will vote in my local election. But when it comes to a candidate, I'm not voting for the lesser of the two evils just to say I voted and somebody can, pat me on my ass and say, good job, you voted in this election. No, I think it's time that we get out of that mindset and we start demanding that certain things are done for our people. Not just using, us for that vote, and then when they get in office, we get, kicked in the ass and pushed to the side. No, if you're not going to do anything for the concerns that we have, if we collectively are not going to come up with a black agenda, then, it's pointless. It's pointless going out here just voting for, Hillary because, she's a woman, or because she's representing the Democratic Party, or we feel like she's better than Donald Trump. No, Hillary ain't no better than Donald Trump. And to be honest with you, we know where Donald Trump is coming from. If we don't say nothing else about Donald Trump's racist ass, we do know that he's been pretty honest and direct about how he feels about certain things. And that's why he has a backing behind his political party. So I just think, we should wise up and start voting strategically. I'm not trying to tell anybody, whether you shouldn't vote or you should vote, or whether you should vote Democrat or Republican. I'm saying be wise about it. Vote strategically. Think about your actions and what's really going to be done. Listen to what these people are talking about. But you guys give me your feedback if you want. But I just felt like doing a video on this. I felt like Roland Martin, he was being a little hypocritical with his statements towards Nick Cannon especially. But I'm out. You guys give me your feedback on it. Peace.